So I obviously went with nothing but New York this week.
Yep.
A little disappointed, to be honest with you.
Why?
Well, I expected New York to have more rippers. I thought New York, big dangerous city, has to have a bunch of rippers in it. Fuck all of it.
How many does London have, and it's got a longer history than New York? If you think of it like that, I can. One comes to mind.
Where's Ipswich?
Not London, I don't think.
No, they got a ripper.
Let me have a look.
But I know that when it comes to New York, all they have. Well, I got the guy we're going to talk about, Joel Rifkin. He was Joel the Ripper.
Suffolk.
He's Joel the Ripper. Is one of his nicknames. I didn't know he had any nicknames. I went with New York because we were doing the New York Ripper.
Okay.
And it was New York or Rippers. And you were away for the weekend with the kids. So I was like, I'm going to get some of this done. So I went with, because you always like a spooky one. You don't want it all serial killers. So I could have done a Ripper special because we've done the Gainesville Ripper.
Yeah.
We had Danny Rawlings. We've done the Roostoff Ripper with Chikatilo. And we've done the Chicago Rippers. We did a Mini Monsters on them. I did ages ago.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of them to dig into. But yeah, I thought it would be a lot of ripping. And we wanted to cover Son of Sam since he is the biggest New York killer, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe more come out with this Gilgo beach guy and he'll become the biggest one. But Son of Sam played into, I suppose, the media and the kind of hysteria that will go around all these serial cases. It made him like larger than life, like fucking Bundy and Gacy and all them. He was willing to, I suppose, get out there and talk in the media and make a spectacle of himself. So there wasn't that many rippers in New York. So I went with I went with the two ghosty ones. Well, that's what's true crime and ghost.
There's a ghost
in Ronnie DeFeo and Amityville. So we have one ghost one. And one of the true crime murders killers that we're going to cover is the ghost in that house.
See, I think your plan all along has been to change all of our mini monsters to serial killers slowly.
Mini monsters was always supposed to be nothing but serial killers. You did Creepypasta Crypt that did the cryptids and the haunting stuff, and over on Mini Monsters, it was all serial killers all the time. All I covered was killers. But
then you were like, let's change Creepypastas.
I agree that. I agree with that. I'm not saying I'm trying to change them. I like your creepy ones. I like the cryptid ones. It was just I was here on my own and I was like, what do I know? You didn't want to scare yourself. I think serial killers would scare me more.
See, I'm the opposite.
Oh no, ghosts don't bother me.
Completely non-logical.
But I'm afraid of something real. But yeah, so the only ripper I could find in New York was Joel Rifkin. Have you ever heard of him before?
Vaguely.
I had heard only... Well, I've heard of him once because he was mentioned in the Gilgo Beach killings as a suspect.
Yeah.
And obviously it's not him. And they figured out that the timelines didn't add up anyway. It kind of says it here in this.
Yeah.
But he was one of the suspects. And I kept meaning to talk about him for ages because he was one of the suspects. And then Rex Hoorman was arrested for it. And so we know it wasn't Rifkin.
Okay.
Even though Rifkin did more than enough damage in his own little run.
17.
So where are we? We'll start with his early life. So the guy's known for killing like 70, maybe as many as 17 people. How much does he charge for? Well, he's got 203 years to life. So they're expecting him to live a long time. Victims 9 to 17. That would tell me that they know there's 9.
9 counts as second degree murder, yeah.
So, early life. Rifkin's birth parents were both young college students and his biological father was an army veteran. Does that mean he was an army veteran that went to college, like?
How do you mean?
How can both his parents be young college students and his biological father was an army veteran? Or is this his adopted parents were young college students?
That's what I'm thinking.
Why the fuck would you adopt a child while you were in college?
So that you'd have more time to go out and party when you're 50.
Fucking hell, man. That would be torture.
Yeah.
On February 14th, Valentine's Day, 1959, when he was 3 weeks old, Rifkin was adopted by an upper middle class couple living in Long Island. So that doesn't make sense either. Any sense. What's the army dude doing? Or was it that his biological father was in the army? Because they go to the army pretty young there.
Yeah.
And was a veteran in the army, but like he'd been in a war and now he was back and he went to college. But then how would you still be a young college student after going to the army? How
long do you have to serve in the army? And how old do you have to be considered?
And in 1959, I mean, like you were if you didn't have kids by the time you were in your early 20s, you were a fucking...
It's only a minimum of 24 months of active duty before you're considered a vet.
Okay.
Yeah. So he could be 18 and after coming out at 20, being in college, he'd have been considered a vet.
Okay, yeah, I suppose so.
It's not bad, yeah.
So Rifkin performed poorly in school due to learning disabilities and was unpopular with classmates. He graduated from East Meadow High School in 1977, then attended classes at Nassau Community College, the State University of New York at Brockport, and the State University of New York at Farmingdale. How can you do poorly at school and still go to, but left before earning a degree? Still go to 3 colleges. Is what I was going to say. After leaving college, Rifkin became self-employed as a landscaper. He looks like a landscaper, alright. Looks like a crazy fucking pool boy or some shit. Pool cleaning guy.
He kind of reminds me of your man from Don't Stop. Show the video for Don't Stop. No, it's not Don't Stop. Standing in Line. Standing in line to see
the dude is driving around the car. They has the long hair and the moustache like Anthony. What's his face?
Yeah. That's who you remind me.
I thought that was him just dressed up, to be honest.
So did I. But no.
Apparently I've seen them both in the same place. So
couldn't be them because green screen.
He's definitely not Batman. On February 20th, 1987, his father Bernard committed suicide, overdosing after having suffered from prostate cancer for several months. So, would you consider that as a trigger for killing? I think I'd understand if my parent was suffering badly from cancer and was going to die anyway and decided to do, they wanted to go out on their own terms. I don't think it would be as traumatic as a healthy parent going away and killing themselves.
I'd understand it as much as
you were prepared for their death anyway. So I wouldn't see, because I was looking at that as well when we were doing the main show, and I'd because the main show we're talking about obviously Peter Bunch, and I was basing his early life off of Ted Kaczynski, and in Ted Kaczynski's family, he was brought up Roman Catholic for the first couple of years, and then they went atheist. But I made the point that couldn't be a factor in what makes you go crazy, because I reckon killers in general, most of them have to have a God complex. Being a sociopath or a psychopath, you think the world is all about you anyway. Everybody and everything are just your toys, right?
Yeah.
So you'd have to think that there is a God complex there of you're in control of everything. And especially when it comes to killing people, because you have their life in your hand, which is a godlike thing to fucking do. Do you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, again, I don't think committing suicide would do it. And then it says in 1987 as well, just a month before I was born, Rifkin was arrested during a sex work sting in Hampstead, New York, after offering an undercover female police officer money for sex. I wonder how often that happens in America. You see it a lot in TV shows where guys go off with sex workers, and then next thing it's like, freeze! That freeze is from South Park, definitely. When the police chief dressed up as the prostitute. But then he was like picking up guys, and instead of you're supposed to arrest them when they initiate sex, or when they pay for it, when you've agreed on what you're going to do and he pays for it, that's when you arrest them. But the chief was going the whole way through and doing the sex act with them, and then like coming out with bags of fucking cum and handing it to the officer saying, here's the evidence.
Would that be entrapment if you made
the rest
them?
of the cops looking at him like, you're not supposed to go that far, man. But entrapment, what for?
If you actually sleep. No, it's not.
If you I reckon it's a case of if you went approaching someone offering sex and they said, yes, I'll pay for sex, that would be entrapment. But if somebody drives up onto the curb, honks his horn, you come over and they ask how much, that's them looking for sex. In that case, you got them. Okay.
And you know when like wives get caught by undercover cops for like, say, taking out a hit on their husbands?
Yeah.
Is that a case of like, say they put it up somewhere online and then a cop sees it and they've already committed conspiracy, so to actually catch them in the act, they have to pose as the hitman?
I think what they do is they put up fake ads as hitmen.
But is that not conspiracy? Is that not entrapment?
Well, not really, because entrapment, I assume, would be if you was maybe zoning in on one person and then trying to catch them for a particular crime and you trick them into doing it. But if this thing is here and somebody comes up and asks for it, well, then they're after kind of giving themselves away, aren't they? So I would assume, I'm not 100% sure how that works.
No, it makes sense. Yeah.
But that's basically how you get caught with that. Apparently 99% of the time you try to order a hitman online, it's going to be a cop.
Why do it online? Phone box?
Suck it up and do it yourself. Jesus Christ.
Why do it?
Well, I assume they don't like their husbands.
But there's easy ways to go about that.
Anyway, his murders. Rifkin committed his first murder on February 20th, 1989. So this was 3 years. Oh, this was the anniversary of his father's death. 2 years after his father died. He killed Heidi Balch in his home in East Meadow. He then dismembered her body, removed her teeth and fingertips, putting her head in a paint can, which he left in the woods on a golf course in Hopewell, New Jersey, disposing of her legs further north and dumping her remaining torso and arms into the East River around New York City. So her head shows up on the 7th hole of a golf course. That's the truth. That's not me just taking a piss. The legs are found in Poconoke Creek near Jefferson Township, and her remains were not identified until 2013. Imagine playing fucking golf and you get your ball up there and it bounces off this fucking head.
Do you know what I reckon that
how does it get in the 7th hole? Someone has to move it. Oh, I suppose animals could move it, couldn't they?
Yeah, I think he had the whole blaming it on his dad thing maybe set up from the start. It just seems...
Because of the anniversary? Like,
yeah, and I think that's why he did it. Exactly, yeah.
No, I don't think it comes up. I don't think he actually fucking blames his dad at any point. It just seems, I thought it was significant to point out that this type of suicide that happened was probably easier to deal with than regular suicide, because obviously a parent killing themselves would be a traumatic experience for anybody.
Yeah.
But like I was just pointing out, in a case like that, you're kind of already prepared for it. You're ready for that impact. You're prepared. You know it's coming.
Oh, yeah.
So it obviously takes some of the edge off it. Obviously, it's never going to be nice and it's not going to be pleasant, but it's not like it's a shock. It's not coming out of nowhere and hitting you. You have time to kind of deal with
Process it.
It is assumed that Rifkin killed 16 more women during the next 4 years. He was implicated in Balch's murder after his arrest in 1993. An investigator determined in 2013 that Balch and the woman he described as his first victim were the same person. So they didn't actually know it was this woman. It was just his confession. Because what was it? They found some shit in his truck, wasn't it?
They found the
body. They found it was another sex worker's body.
Tiffany Bersiani.
Bersiani, yeah. And it was her pimp that called the cops on him, isn't it? Dave Rubenstein, who also committed suicide 2 weeks after her death from an overdose. Again, David Rubenstein was a punk rocker and a pimp. Generally, I picture fucking Sid Vicious in that position, and he's overdosed.
I like him to look at there.
I haven't seen David Rubenstein.
I'm looking at him.
I would say he's overdosed 2 weeks later. It is 50-50 as to whether it was a result of the sex worker he was pimping out or the fact that he was a punk rocker in the fucking pimp in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So eventually he reported him, and the cops had a description then of the 1984 Mazda pickup truck that Rifkin drove. So this kind of leads into his arrest. On June 28, 1993 at 3:15 a.m., state troopers patrolling Long Island's Southern State Parkway noticed a 1984 Mazda B2000 pickup truck without a license plate. For fuck's sake, man. I've always said, at least if you're going to commit a crime, do it with all your fucking paperwork in order so you don't get pulled over.
Without a license plate, though, is ridiculous.
Oh, that's like fucking, you might as well put flashing neon lines, lights on your fucking car saying, pull me over.
Yep.
After indicating for the driver to pull over, he failed to stop and led police on a 20 to 25-minute chase, ending after he lost control of his vehicle and crashed into a light pole. The driver was identified as Joel David Rifkin, and after searching the vehicle, the troops found the body of Tiffany Bersiani wrapped in some tarp. He was found guilty of 9 counts of second-degree murder in 1994 and sentenced to 203 years to life in prison. What's second-degree murder? First is obviously the worst, yeah? So that's what?
Second is the best.
So murder is the unlawful killing of another human without justification or valid excuse, committed with the necessary intention as defined by the law in specific jurisdictions. The state mind may depend upon the jurisdiction distinguishing murder from. So what, is it like kind of maybe crime of passion kind of? But no, see, that's still lower, isn't it?
Second-degree murder, second-degree manslaughter is still a very serious crime, but is a step down in severity when compared to the first degree. In general terms, a second-degree murder is one that doesn't have any kind of premeditation and may have only been intended to cause harm rather than death.
But that's manslaughter.
Yeah, but it's also, you see, there's second degree murder, second
But
degree
is there a manslaughter
presumed.
then where you kind of, it's just your negligence to call? But no, that's murder. I don't know. Fucking, I couldn't tell you. I just know that if you get first degree murder, death penalty is on the table.
Well, yeah, first degree murder is premeditated. Second degree
that's
normally
planned,
isn't.
and
Yeah.
you know, this was gonna. I get that, but second degree murder just sounds. That's the way manslaughter was always described to me. Unintentional murder. You go out to hurt somebody, but you didn't expect to kill them, and then you accidentally kill them.
Well, it was like, do you remember when we were younger, that kid went missing up the country? And and he ended up, the man that actually killed him, he said that he was messing with him and had him in a headlock.
Yeah.
And he got manslaughter.
That I listened to Murder Most Irish to cover that story, and I listened to it.
I remember going on.
It was extremely hard to listen to.
Yeah.
I've listened to a lot of their stories. I've listened to a lot of true crime in general, but I suppose their true crime stories are so
closer to home.
Or community based that it's a bit more real than hearing about the likes of Joe Rifkin or BTK or Ted Bundy or whatever, who are kind of almost pop culture fucking icons at this point. You know, they're something you grow up hearing about, whereas these smaller cases in Ireland you don't hear about, and that was a sad one. That was a really fucking sad one. Obviously, I think the way he reacted afterwards would make you question
I think
what
he was,
went on there. But he was obviously too rough with the kid. See, what I heard was he got him in a headlock, but there was a bit of fucking
cop the fuck on and listen to me kind of thing, or?
But that was it. The kid was kind of busting his balls a little bit.
Okay.
In the sense of he wanted him to drop him to McDonald's or something to get a milkshake or something. Apparently it's something he used to do fairly regularly.
Okay.
In his car. And he was having a bad day or something, and he kept telling him to fuck off, and your man was kind of plaguing him a bit, you know, being a kid.
Yeah.
And eventually got him in the headlock, and apparently that's something they used to do fairly often with wrestling and stuff like that. But apparently I reckon this could have been I don't think he meant to kill the kid, but it was definitely an aggressive headlock, and things went out of fucking control. He killed the kid. He tried to hide the body. He tried to fucking deny that he saw him. Tried to distance himself from the other family.
He joined in the search.
Yeah, and eventually all fucking came out, and like you said, is he out now then?
I think he might be.
He'd have to be. It was a long time. Manslaughter over here is only like 8 to 10 years.
Yeah, I remember being very young. I remember where I was when I could see the search go on the news.
But so that's Ireland. We're great.
Yeah.
Fucking small crazy murders is what we do. Not fucking. It's not number. It's not about quantity. It's about quality here in Ireland.
Or lack thereof.
So prison life for Rifkin so he was notorious, and his presence in the general prison population could be disruptive. So he was confined to his cell at Attica Correctional Facility 23 hours per day. That would be fucking hard, man. Imagine being stuck in one small room for 23 hours a day.
Yeah, but imagine your head being found on a golf course when you look at it like that.
Yeah. He spent more than 4 years in solitary confinement, then was transferred to Clinton Correctional Facility in Clinton County, New York. Rifkin sued, arguing that his solitary imprisonment was unconstitutional. Now, they say there was nothing solitary about it. There was another 200 inmates in Clinton's solitary confinement area, general prison population. Or people who weren't allowed into their general prison
So they were
population.
allowed around other solitary people, but not...
Yeah, I think if you remember in Oz... They had it. Do you remember it was where the cops, the corrupt cops were put?
Yeah.
And there was only like 3 or 4 of them in that area.
Okay.
I think Lance Riddick's character went in as an undercover, and he snaps and he does something fucked up, and he gets arrested and he ends up in there.
Yeah.
And there's one other old cop in there who was a crooked cop, and some other guy. And that. But I think in general, when it comes to these kind of places, I don't think it's where you'd want to be, because you're going to also be in there with all the rapists and pedophiles, you know?
Yeah.
Especially the pedophiles, because they're not going to be able to be in the general population. No, I don't know what it's like in America. I assume in America they're just thrown to the fucking wolves because they don't really give a shit.
No.
You know, you're a convict and you go fucking whatever happens to you.
Yeah.
Here, I think you do get split away from them.
As far as I know, you do when we watch the documentary.
I think you can request. I think I remember reading that Larry Murphy requested back into the fucking thing, but I think they can turn it down, or else they can kind of, I don't know.
Are you better off though if you kind of go in quietly as somebody like that?
If I did what somebody who goes into that section did, I would not want to be around the general population, because you know what they're going to do to you.
Yeah.
And you know someone's going to find out eventually. Ireland especially is a small country. Someone is going to know you in there. Someone is going to be from your town. Someone is going to hear about what you've done. Do you know? You never get away with it.
Yeah.
You know, in the end, even, I mean, I complained last week on our show that like pedophiles here, that they do get away with it in the sense of they get very lenient fucking charges. And then the story kind of drifts off into the fucking news cycle and you never hear about it again, except for the local community or people who know them.
Yeah.
But the prison system, we don't have that many prisons and we're a small country, so you can be guaranteed when the paedophile goes into jail,
Somebody knows him.
they will know, someone will point them out and say, that guy, you know, so they're better off being in it. But I think when you're a serial killer, I think it might have been his notoriety in the sense of how he did, how many he got and all that, you know, it's a big number. And in the 80s, you would have been kind of coming out of what would be unfortunately kind of dubbed the golden age of the serial killer because that's when they were the most fucking active. When you look at it, 60s, 70s, 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
Once DNA came into effect, suddenly that number started to drop drastically, but they were everywhere in America in the 60s, 70s, 80s, you know, and I assume the likes of Rifkin, they might have taught me, oh, well, this is another fucking Bundy and all this because you got the numbers, or another Dahmer because you got the numbers, and expecting someone to become a kind of a pop culture icon that way. But maybe it looks like Rifkin just didn't have the personality to make it there.
He looks like a pretty boring plank, to be honest.
If you're a serial killer looking to be remembered, you kind of have to talk to the cops, don't you? You kind of have to do the whole sending the letter shit.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Like
Jack the Ripper. Look how that turned out.
Exactly. That guy's still fucking 100 years later. We're still talking about the
postcards, letters, kidneys in the post. I mean,
I think that's it for Rifkin. He's still alive, isn't he?
He is.
He's
he hasn't
still
died yet.
chilling in fucking prison. Where is he now? He's still in Clinton Correctional Facility. Is he still in? I'd love to know if he's still in.
I love that. 203 years to life.
Yep. That's what I said. They expect him to live a long time. I don't see here what his status is in the prison.
How do you mean?
Is he in the general? Is he still is he still in solitary confinement all these years later? Is he in the general prison population? We'll have to look that up. Maybe if you check that up while I line up our next one, because I was saying you need to really communicate with the police or the media to become an icon in the true crime sense. But this next guy, he didn't have to do any of that. The Amityville Horror kind of took care of it for him, and that's Ronnie DeFeo Jr., who we covered well back in Mini Monsters. I think when it started out, we covered Amityville and Ronnie DeFeo one after the other. You did Amityville on Creepypasta Crypt, and the next episode was Mini Monsters, Ronald DeFeo Jr. And
I can't see anything. All I
was waiting for him to talk there.
Sorry, all I can see is that he was never housed in the prison's general population as anything about him.
Well, then that's probably the answer.
Since his arrest, Rifkin's notoriety has been such that prison authorities have deemed it impractical to keep him in general population. That was from the lineup on the 20th of April 2023.
Jesus Christ. So he was arrested in 93, yeah?
Yep.
He is now going, 30 years in solitary confinement?
Yeah, he'll be eligible for parole in 21 something.
You caught me there for a second, 21. That was 2 years. Okay, anyway, Ronald Joseph DeFeo Jr. was an American mass murderer who was tried and convicted of the 1974 killing of his father, mother, 2 brothers and 2 sisters in Amityville, New York. Sentenced to 6 counts of 25 years to life. DeFeo died in prison on March 12, 2021, and the case inspired the book and film versions of the Amityville Horror. We can mash these 2 stories in together.
Absolutely.
We'll get to Amityville when we get there, but we'll just talk about Ronald here first.
See, he was second-degree murder too.
Huh?
He was convicted of second-degree murder.
Well, that's because in this case, he kind of blames drugs and stuff. And I think maybe, was there a little physical abuse or something? I don't know. I don't think there was. But a lot of rumours that this family's mobbed up. Because there was rumours that it was a mob hit first.
Well, okay, this is okay. I forgot this because I was expecting this to go ghosty, and all of a sudden it's gone mafia.
Oh no! Well, we got to cover DeFeo first, I suppose, and once we get to the Amityville.
I know. Yeah, I just wasn't expecting that
because there isn't much of an Amityville Wikipedia page. And do you know, I was thinking about this before we get into the story, right? we were worried like a week or two ago, that Wikipedia being our only source for mini monsters was a bad thing, right? And then I was thinking today, I was like, if this was before the age of the internet, what would you use to get your information about a subject you were doing a radio show about? A fucking encyclopedia. And then you would get newspaper articles to confirm stuff from the encyclopedia. No, in this day and age, Wikipedia is our encyclopedia. I know people's argument is, but anyone can post on that. Yes, but it's all sourced and corrected almost fucking instantaneously when something goes up wrong. It's up there for minutes before it's fixed.
But I would point out, and I said it again, was it on the last Mini Monsters, that when it comes to Wikipedia, like the articles are great, but a lot of the time, like what you find in the sources, like the links that you find in the sources,
but that's what I'm saying.
Up a whole other world. Like, do you know what I mean?
Your first source of fucking information when it comes to anything.
You can dig deeper using those sources provided.
And like I said, like usually newspaper articles and stuff like that would be your secondary source off of the encyclopedia, like, you know.
Do be careful the sources at the same time.
That's
Use
the
your own fucking intelligence.
But that's what I was going to say. That's the problem these days. The encyclopedia is it's 99% trustworthy. Someone might alter something in the couple of seconds that you fucking take to read it, and if you come back an hour later, it'll be different again, back to normal. I've seen it happen with wrestlers a lot of time where people change their information just for a bit of fun, like, you know. But at the end of the day, if you see something that you're not fucking double check it, it's your own fucking fault. And news isn't reliable, you know, because the news at this point depends on what you're leaning, what way your leanings are. Are you, you know, are you left? Are you right? You know, are you fucking? Yep. You know, so it's hard to fucking tell. So the easiest way to get this information is Wikipedia, and then kind of expand on it, because that's kind of the idea here, you know, because I want to do it in the main show. We have little bits of from Wikipedia go into the main show, and then I expand on it, and we talk about the movies around it and all this stuff. And with here, Mini Monsters is the encyclopedia fucking take, and then Real Monsters here is our expanding on it, you know?
Yes.
But I think, I have no problem with saying it anymore. Fuck everybody. Wikipedia is awesome. And once I start making money in this podcast, I'll start donating to them too, because they're always asking for it and I never have the money.
They ask for the say, like what we say, cup of coffee.
Yep, pretty much. Anyway, DeFeo. So around 6:30 p.m. on November 13th, 1974, DeFeo, who was then 23, entered Henry's bar in Amityville, Long Island, New York, and declared, "You gotta help me. I think my mother and father are shot." Oh, I think my mother and father are shot.
Well, you've just implicated yourself right there.
DeFeo and a small group of people went to 112 Ocean Avenue, which was located near the bar, and found that DeFeo's parents were dead inside the house. One of the group, DeFeo's friend, Joe Yeswith, made an emergency call to Amityville Police Department, who searched the house and found the 6 members of the family were dead in their beds. The victims were Ronald Jr.'s parents, Ronald DeFeo Sr., Louise DeFeo, his 4 siblings, Dawn, Allison, Mark, and John. All of the victims have been shot with a .35 caliber lever action Marlin 336C rifle around 3 a.m. that day. The children had been killed by single shots, whereas the parents had each received 2 shots. Physical evidence suggests that Louise DeFeo and her daughter Allison were awake at the time of their deaths. According to Suffolk County Police, all the victims were found lying face down in the bed, and the DeFeo family had occupied 112 Ocean Avenue since purchasing the house in 1965. The 6 victims were later buried in St. Charles Cemetery nearby in Farmingdale. Now, again, there's not a whole pile here on his Wikipedia page, because there isn't a whole pile about this guy. He was pretty much caught out pretty soon afterwards. There was some kind of back and forth as to whether it was the mob, because I think his uncle was in the mafia. I think I'd heard that.
Okay.
And there was like rumors at first that maybe it was a mob hit, and they just didn't find Ronald Sr. or Jr. because he slept in the basement.
Louis Fellini is the hitman's name. Is that the man that they?
I think I've heard of that guy before. Well, what did they say about him?
Said that Ronnie DeFeo, blah, 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 he was taken to the local police station for his own protection after suggesting to police officers at the scene of the crime that the killings had been carried out by a mob hitman named Louis Fellini. However, an interview at the station exposed serious inconsistencies in his version of events. The following day, he confessed to carrying out the killings himself. Fellini, the alleged hitman, had an alibi proving that he was out of state at the time of the killing.
Yeah, his uncle is Peter DeFeo, capo of the Genovese crime family.
No way.
I fucking love the Mafia stuff. I've listened to all of Sammy the Bull's podcasts. And I don't really agree with Sammy and everything. I did like listening to his stories. He seemed to be fairly honest and open about everything that went on, because he was the good, the bad, and the ugly in those stories. Like, he admitted to multiple murders.
Yeah.
So, well, obviously, this probably wouldn't be as big a story if it wasn't for what happened next. And that was, obviously, the house in Amityville had to go back up for sale because the family are dead, and Ronnie is in jail for the rest of his fucking life up until 2021 when he died. Mm-hmm. And the people to take this house were the Lutzes. What's their first name again? Is it George? George and Kathy Lutz, and their 3 children and their dog. And you will remember them from the great movie with Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, what was the one who played him before Ryan Reynolds? Oh, famous guy.
Oh. Why can't I think of this? It's so hard. Branson.
No. Am I right? No. It wasn't Brolin. Josh Brolin's dad, was it?
Oh.
What's Josh Brolin's dad?
Don't stop.
I can't stop. We got to fill dead air. You can't stop talking. And we keep talking while you're looking. Keep talking.
A lot of fucking pressure. Oh my God, no.
What?
I typed in Josh.
James Brolin.
There we go.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to check.
And the lady from Superman, Lois Lane. What's her name?
Oh, stop doing this to
me. Do your own research. Jesus Christ, all you got to do is go to IMDb and check up the Amityville horror.
But my fingers,
Amityville.
His James Brolin.
James Brolin and?
Lois Lane.
Margot Kidder, yes. I got it right. I've never seen that movie.
1979, yeah.
I've only seen the Ryan Reynolds version. The thing that upsets me the most about the Amityville horror, right, is it was like Roswell. It was the first one of its kind that I believed in.
Yeah,
Roswell was the first alien thing that I was like, yes. And to this day, I'm still like, yes, something went down there.
But Amityville, not so much.
I don't believe any of it. Not a word of it. Because there are still people living in that house to this fucking day.
That have never experienced
it. Nobody outside the Lutzes have ever experienced shit. Except for fucking, what's her face, Warren. She claims to see stuff all over that house.
Maybe she just...
she made a bundle out of it. Her and Ed. The only real things I've seen from the house is the picture of the kid. And people have come out that were there that day saying, no. One of the guys that were there had their kid at the house. You know? And I think the Warrens took out and might have taken that picture. Okay. And then claimed that was proof. She did a few seances there where she said she was feeling stuff and seeing
does
stuff.
That not go against then what we're saying that, like, you know, in my head, like after we were talking about them, it was, and I think the two of us said that, like, they did believe in what they were doing. But then you look at Amityville and it's like, did they actually believe
there was apparently, obviously a lot of authors have come out who wrote their books and said, we were told we were writing fucking fiction, and then it was kind of brought to us that this was going to be sold as fact.
Yeah.
And there was times where one guy who knew he was doing a fact-based one went out and said, well, none of this adds up. And Ed Warren said back to him, well, look, your job is to write scary books. Write a fucking scary book and we'll all make money out of it, you know? And in this case, the Amityville horror, they actually got cut out because they... apparently would have won. Maybe them, but I don't know if they approached him or it was them and DeFeo's lawyer first spoke about the idea of a book and a movie. DeFeo's lawyer brought it to the Lutzes, and the decision there was to kind of cut out Ed and Lorraine and do the book for themselves. The day he kind of went to them and was like, well, and this was before the fucking ghost shows up, like, you know, because obviously he had to go to them and say, well, look, you're after buying the house. This is what we could do. And he claims that him and George Lutz sat there and drank all night and discussed what they were going to do to put in the book and claimed it was happening.
Yeah.
No, they did abandon it. It seemed legit at the time because after 28 days they fled the house and left everything behind them.
But why do that?
I don't know. I mean, they were claiming they were being fucking plagued. They were seeing the ghost pig thing in the fucking window. The walls are bleeding, bugs, flies everywhere.
And where did they go for those 28 days, though?
Huh?
did it cost them to? Oh, they fled for 28 days?
No. They fled after 28 days. They moved the fuck out.
Oh.
They fled in the middle of the night and never came back, like, you know. I don't think it was as bad as the Ryan Reynolds movie. I don't think George started to go crazy and chase down the family or anything.
No.
But, like, there's small, just shitty things that piss me off about this. Even, like, down to the priest, where the priest is said to have went to the house to bless it, and you could hear, get out, and got smacked across the face or some shit like that. The priest said himself, that particular priest said, as much as I had with the DeFeos the Lutzes was a phone call.
Just to discuss
the idea of me coming there. I never went there, you know? So that's supposed to be bullshit. It's just a pity. The Amityville horror kind of seemed like the first real kind of horror thing that I know, because everybody knew about it. Everybody spoke about it.
It seemed like if anything was going to be haunted, it would be somewhere like that.
The place where a fucking murder, that kind of a murder took place, where the whole family were killed by the fucking crazy son who was off his head in LSD.
Yeah.
And we didn't really say that about DeFeo either, because we just kind of alluded to the mob setup and all that. Ronnie DeFeo was a bit of a fucking burnout.
Yeah.
He lived in his parents' basement. He fought with his father a lot. He did a lot of drugs, and he didn't work very much. He drank a lot, drugged a lot, and hung out in the basement. And this guy was in his fucking 20s. Mm-hmm. So he was a bit of a bum. And it's believed that he just kind of fucking snapped one night and killed the parents after an argument and all this stuff about him being a bit of a fucking bum. There's other arguments as well that he might have done it, that his sister and him might have been in love and that they did it together. And then the things took a turn at the end and he killed her. Jeez. But you tried to use that as well as an excuse and say that she killed everybody and that he shot her in the end to try and stop her from killing him. That it was her that did it and not him at all.
He also said that once he started shooting, he couldn't stop.
That's it. He changed his story constantly. He's just your typical kind of fucking LSD, fucking pothead, burnout that doesn't do shit, you know.
Apparently he asked the cops as well what he had to do to collect his father's life insurance. Then the prosecution used that against him in the trial also.
Fuck's sake. So yeah, an idiot that committed a murder and two idiots that fucking came up with a ghost story as part of it. I wonder, do they still get money from that, the Lutzes? Because there wouldn't be a shitload of Amity movies if it cost money, would there? Everyone makes Amity movies, which means Amityville must be fucking in some way. Well, I suppose Amityville is just the name of a fucking town, isn't it? You can use it anytime. You can't really copyright that shit. So there can be Amityville anything, which is why there's the Amityville fucking dildo. Why
there's a lot of the Amityville horror.
Shark,
yeah, there's a lot.
There is the Amityville shark, genuinely. Which is funny because Amity is where Jaws is from, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Amity Beach. And the Amityville house is in that version of it, is in it as a cameo, apparently. So, yeah.
Ooh.
But, yeah, I don't have a whole pile more to say on the Amityville stuff. We've kind of covered that a million times before in this first year of fucking recording.
That we did.
DeFeo interests me more than the fucking Lutzes do.
Yeah.
The whole mafia background to it interests me. And actually, his uncle, Peter DeFeo, has his own Wikipedia page, which I would have to read into. Oh yeah, Peter DeFeo, rise to power, Carpenter's union rackets and extortion activities later years. Died of natural causes, 91. Now that's fucking something that's rare in the mafia world.
Producer. No, I'm looking at somebody.
No. This is a mobster. Oh, he worked with Chin
Gigante.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's pretty fucking cool. We might cover this guy someday and talk about him. Keep the DeFeos going. Maybe on a DeFeo's anniversary or something, we'll stick in Peter DeFeo. That's.
This is really weird.
What?
Here it just comes up that when you type him in, it comes up that he was a film producer, and then you click in, and it's like it brings you to Peter DeFeo's Wikipedia page. But when you type in Peter DeFeo into Google, it comes up that he was a film producer.
What kind of films?
Oh.
The mob had their hands in a lot of film studios, CD film studios. Oh god! But I mean, you saw in Sopranos, technically, fucking.
You never saw IMDb.
I'm terrible with names. So Christopher was a film producer.
Oh yeah.
He made that Saw knockoff movie, Mafia Saw knockoff thing. They even show him watching Saw in one episode, and that's when he gets the idea and he starts going about it. What was it called? I can't even remember the name of that bit anymore. My brain is fucked. Talking about people whose brains are fucked. Let's talk about David Berkowitz. I can honestly say he was probably the first serial killer I ever heard of.
Yeah, so the Sam, I first heard of him in My Cousin Vinny.
What?
In My Cousin Vinny, when he's trying to plead, say, when Joe Pesci's in front of the judge and he's in meeting him in his office and he's trying to say, I've defended all these people. He's like, I did the Son of Sam. And your man's like, oh, that was you. But it wasn't actually him.
No, obviously. It was a movie as well that kind of caught my attention. I didn't know what the fuck it was, to be honest with you. My parents rented the Son of Sam movie. As far as I know, Christopher from Sons of Anarchy, I was going to say fucking Sopranos, rather wrote it or directed it, but he was definitely in it.
Oh, cool.
And
you could play him. No?
Huh?
I could see him playing.
No, not Berkowitz. I don't think it was Berkowitz. I don't even think the thing was based solely on it. It was called Summer of Sam, I think.
That sounds familiar, doesn't it?
I think that's what it was called. Or A Son of Sam. I can't remember. But it was basically, I think it's supposed to be, I never watched it. It was based around a bunch of people living in New York around the same time as the Son of Sam killings were going on. And you're kind of following their lives as this is happening in the background. So
directed by Spike Lee.
Oh, directed by Spike Lee. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, then he was just in it, so.
He was in it. Is he a producer?
Who wrote it?
Michael Imperioli.
That's him, yeah, he wrote it. I knew he had some big part in it.
Yeah, he's in it. He with the. I've seen the picture, Union Jack shirt, and he's got spikes in it.
I gotta watch it, just out of curiosity. But I saw that, and they'd rented it from Extravision.
It looks like Adrian Brody.
But I saw it just kind of lying around in the sitting room, and I asked what it was, and they just said it was a scary movie, not for me. And I read the back of it, so I knew who Son of Sam was then. I didn't kind of find out more about it till later when I found that true crime magazines around the house.
Yeah.
And Son of Sam would have been in them as well.
I would have seen his picture before I'd heard of him, with the books that came with the Irish magazines.
He's so fucking popular. Yeah. He is one of the ones you hear about first. You hear about Gacy, Bundy, Dahmer. They're your three go-to. And then Son of Sam, not Berkowitz, but Son of Sam. You hear Son of Sam, Jack the Ripper, people like that, Zodiac. They're all kind of in the same league. And we were talking about what do they all have fucking in common? They like to fucking talk to the media.
That they did.
Fine in Gacy, Bundy, and Dahmer's positions, they tried to hold back and eventually give in once they were found. You're caught red-handed. There's nothing you can do. You got to kind of confess it during the last kind of shot at not getting the death penalty. Didn't work for any of the three of them. Nope. Dahmer, not so much by the state, but by a popular heavy bar across the head. The other two were killed by the state, though. Apparently, it was bullshit as well that Gacy's last words were "fuck you" or "kiss my ass." Kiss my ass. Yeah. That was apparently bullshit.
What were his last words?
I don't know. Or something peaceful enough, something along the lines of fucking forgive me or some shit like that. Some witness that I was watching a documentary about it, and some witness said she was there and that it was a load of shit.
Yeah, it's mad. Every single thing is like kiss my ass, but if you go by first-hand accounts, no.
No, he didn't. He never said it.
Mad.
Anyway, Berkowitz. We'll get into Berkowitz. So he is, one of the first you're going to hear of. And I think it's just catchy nicknames and the fact that they talk to fucking police, which makes their story interesting, which eventually ends up to be lots of documentaries, movies, miniseries in these days and this day and age.
Yeah.
So people, get into it in that sense. And this is kind of an interesting one because I like the idea. Was it called Summer of Sam?
Summer of Sam, yeah.
I like the idea of that movie of seeing this group of people dealing with their normal life with a serial killer running around in the background. Yeah. I think that's interesting. But, his story's kind of interesting. He's nuts, it's the only way to fucking describe it.
Do you know the famous picture of him? Obviously the most well-known picture with the kind of got black hair. But if you look at it, it's kind of like nearly like a Renaissance kind of like if you cover like here, his eyes are like Mona Lisa eyes. They're like half closed. It's crazy.
Kind of there's like a weird,
like a dreamy kind of disconnection.
Yeah. I was just about to say it. You can tell by looking at him that he isn't overly intelligent.
Yeah.
You can tell that he's a bit of a dum-dum.
Yeah.
He fits the fucking when you kind of think of a stereotypical dummy in your head, not a bad person, not necessarily someone's.
But the lights aren't quite on, and it's the same as like when you see the painting and it's like a person, but it's not quite. There's something.
He's got child. When he smiles, he actually has childlike features.
Yeah.
He looks kind of innocent, and I think that's even more terrifying on a serial killer when they have that innocent look about him.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, look, we'll get into it here. But obviously, the way he is right now, I mean, you made a point to me yesterday, and we'll get into it. But I think I might agree with you because you kind of threw it back in my face when I said this person, if they really believed they were guilty, they'd want to stay in jail and serve out their sentence.
Oh, but it's so hard to fucking call. We like, yeah.
But this guy's so full of shit that it's kind of hard to.
At the same time, yeah.
So Berkowitz, better known by his nickname Son of Sam, and the 44 caliber killer. Why did they put the point in front of the 44 caliber, but then call it 44 caliber?
Because it's catchier than saying .44 caliber.
I always have a problem with when I'm reading it, whether to call it that, because I didn't know if it was a
44 caliber.
.44 caliber killer. Though Berkowitz remains the only person charged or convicted in relation to the case, some law enforcement authorities suspect that there are unresolved questions about the crimes. I like this when you were reading this, the part that they were saying that there is a conspiracy theory that he was in league with other people committing the crimes.
That woman cop that told her, I don't know why, it just every time they said that there was a member of law enforcement, okay, this is probably slander, but no, every time they said it was a member of law enforcement, my mind just kept going back. Like if it was a TV show, this is how I'd write it. He'd be like, oh yeah, there's a member of law enforcement, and it would end up being that cop that you saw. Let me tell you all about him. Huh?
Has anyone wrote that movie yet?
Oh.
The Cult of Sam.
We called it copyright that shit there. I'm totally not going to use that twist.
But, yeah, I mean, look, I don't know. It seems a bit far-fetched for me, but we'll get into that too when we get down there. We'll talk a bit more about it when we get down there. Do you want to tell us a bit about this guy's early life?
Okay, so Berkowitz was born Richard David Falco in Brooklyn in New York to Betty Broder and Joseph Kleinman. Broder was married to Tony Falco and had a daughter with him, although Falco abandoned her. They were never divorced. She later had an affair with the married Kleinman. When Broder told Kleinman that she was pregnant, he told her to get rid of the baby. However, Broder had the baby and listed Falco as the father.
Oh, this is new information. We didn't get this on Wikipedia. We're on Murderpedia right here. Because it just looked a bit tidier and easier to read.
Yeah.
But, there's no information. That information isn't in his Wikipedia, is it?
No, it's not. No.
Not about his father and mother, but yeah, that's cool. Okay.
A few days after the birth, it's in Wikipedia, but not about the birth name of the father.
Okay.
So a few days after his birth, the baby was adopted by Nathan and Pearl Berkowitz, a Jewish couple who reversed the order of the baby's first name and middle names.
That's so fucking...
Like Bryan Danielson.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's exactly a wrestling thing to fucking do. Like when WWE was... Because apparently they've officially stopped this now. This isn't a rule anymore. You own the trademark to your name.
Oh,
they will own the trademark to your name while you work for them.
Which makes sense.
As soon as you leave, you take the name with you. That's why so many guys have been coming back with their own name and their own music from the indie scene.
Because a lot of the time it's better.
Back in the day when Vince McMahon was in charge, sometimes he'd just take people's names and reverse them. So Bryan Danielson was Daniel Bryan.
So creative.
And he had another quirk. Another quirk was he'd give guys two names, and then after a couple of weeks he'd get sick of their surname and he'd dump it.
That happened with... Who did that happen with?
Or they'd get rid of... He'd get sick of their first name and dump it. There was Adrian Neville. He just became Neville. There was Antonio Cesaro, who became Cesaro.
That happened to Damien Sandow.
There was Seamus O'Shaughnessy, who became Seamus. Thank fuck. Seamus O'Shaughnessy, though, was his own creating, as far as I know. I think he went by that in the indie scene.
We see here it'd be O'Shaughnessy, wouldn't it? That's how we'd say it, instead of O'Shaughnessy.
No, I think there's Shaughnessy's and Shaughnessy's. And then there was one more. Oh, fucking Nero. He was...
Oh.
And Alexander Rusev. And that got shortened to just Rusev.
Rusev sounded better though.
Well, yeah, the name. But the name reversal thing wasn't so much a WWE thing. It was the other way around. When they left WWE, since they couldn't use their name, the copyright name that they used in WWE, they'd have to use something similar so that you would recognize them on the indie scene, but not so close that they could get sued. So a lot of the times they'd like take their fucking shit name from WWE and reverse it and go on the indie scene. You know, that was always the joke, you know.
Okay.
So whenever anybody left WWE, everyone would just start posting memes of their name reversed or slightly altered, and this person has just turned up at the Impact Zone. What was Jack Swagger's name when he was in WWE?
Swagger Jack? I'm joking. I don't know. I can't remember.
Was he Jack Swagger? He was Jack Swagger in...
Oh, I'm thinking
But anyway.
of the guy that came out, the Russell Howard Brand looking guy. Who am I thinking of?
The Russell Brand
Do you remember he used to have like an entourage with him? Kind of like Al the Snow. No, not Al the Snow. That is Russell.
Alex Alex something Rose. I didn't really like him that much. But fucking, who was I talking about before that? You made me forget.
Jack Swagger.
Jack Swagger. When he left,
Curtis Axel.
there was a lot of people taking the piss with memes that it was Swagger and Jack is about to come to the Impact Zone and all this kind of shit. So yeah, they pulled the WWE move here, or didn't, leaving WWE move and switched his names. Bet they felt shitty afterwards. It was like, we could have fucking adopted any kid and we picked this one. And it's a bit of a fucking a common thing here, isn't it? Am I wrong in saying, did we say Joel Rifkin was it? Yeah, Joel Rifkin was put up for adoption.
He was.
So yeah, so maybe we found it. Maybe adoption is the trigger. Don't adopt children. Just leave them there in the orphanage.
Josh!
Just where they're safe and where they can kill each other. And we're going to leave the strongest one leave. And then we know that's the strongest killer and we watch him.
Oh my God, like Miko's storyline in The Boys. You know, the TV show.
Then we stick, Then we stick all the orphanage's champions on an island, right? And they can go at it and we'll see who the fucking best orphan is. Let the best orphan win.
Is that like Lord of the Flies? Or am I thinking of a different thing?
Is it not called?
I feel like this has been done in The Simpsons.
Yeah, it's I can't remember the name of it, but yeah, it's been done.
Okay, cool. So anyway, John Vincent Sanders wrote that David's childhood was somewhat troubled. Although of above average intelligence, he lost interest in learning at an early age and began an infatuation with petty larceny and pyromania. He was an avid baseball player and earned a reputation as something of a bully in his neighborhood.
I can say again, that big dummy look is also kind of the big dummy look. They're generally bullies when they're kind of in their teens, and then kind of develop into the soft, kind of quiet people, or else,
spiral out of control.
Like this guy.
Pearl, his adopted mother, died of breast cancer in 1967. Always close to his mother, Always closer to his mother?
Always closer to his mother and his father, I suppose.
Oh, I get you. David's tense relationship with his father became even more strained, and he disliked the woman Nathan later married. Berkowitz joined the US Army in 1971 and was active until 1974. He managed to avoid service in the Vietnam War, instead serving in both the US and South Korea. Afterwards, he toyed with Christianity and located his birth mother, but after a few visits, Berkowitz learned the details of his conception and birth, and they fell out of contact with one another. Wikipedia does say that he kept in contact with his adopted sister.
Huh?
Wikipedia did say that he stayed in contact with his adopted sister for a while. But yeah, that's...
I mean, that must have been what it was like. It was like fucking, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know that he
Different
kind of looked
times.
into Christianity before he went to jail.
Yeah. Obviously didn't work for him.
No.
Not at that time.
No.
But I just think, yeah, because I mean, they kind of point out as well that he was bullied for being Jewish. Yeah.
Oh, well, maybe that could have been something that he tried to change about himself, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, look, from what I can tell, a lot of kids were bullied for being Jewish. Yeah, when we were kids, you were bullied for being anything. So I imagine it was only worse in the 60s. Everyone had some quirk that they were going to get bullied for. That was
Nobody was
I had big front teeth. I was always Bugs Bunny. Do you know?
Well, I hit puberty headlong. I was always bullied.
And we didn't know what racism was. There was a tanned kid that lived next to us that was called Cocoa Pops because he had tanned skin.
He's probably as Irish.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you have no idea how Irish his family is. Super Irish. But I mean, he just had really tanned skin. And because we were kids and the rest of us weren't tanned skin, he was Cocoa Pops. We all had, there was... Kids find the stupidest things to pick on each other for. So, I mean, you can imagine in America where religion, especially religions like that, are really fucking prominent. Like, they're standing out. They're a part of your personality. They're a part of your identity. Do you know?
Yeah.
Here, if you're not fucking Catholic or Protestant, we don't really give a fuck what you are after that. It's just, oh, you're that origin. Okay, that's a bit strange. Anyway.
Not straight, it's different.
But I mean, back in the day, back when we were kids or beforehand, it wouldn't have been a thing of anti-Semitic or anti-religion or anti-anything. It would have just been, we don't care if you're, as long as you're not a Protestant, we don't really give a fuck. Would have been the attitude, especially around our area, yeah? 100%. And if you were up in the north, there are certain areas that all they give a fuck about was you weren't a Catholic. You could be Jewish, Muslim, anything else, but as long as you're not a Catholic, they didn't give a fuck. But again, you're remember you're coming up in an age where this is all died down. The last big thing to happen was the Oma bombing. We were young when that happened, you know? Yeah. So, I mean, by the time we were teenagers, that was all starting to die down to a massive degree, you know? I know there's still a bit of shit up there, but it sounds like it's a lot better than what it used to be from what my northern friends have told me. But,
by pigeon.
But yeah, but over in America, it does seem to be more of a personality fucking thing, where they really lean into the fucking, almost like they lean into the stereotypes of the religion to deal with each person. Like the Irish are Catholic mixed, you know, the Mexicans are going to be super Christian fucking whatever, you know, the Jewish people are penny pinching fucking people who are, you know, overly fucking anxious, and then you have that's the way they picture everything, especially in the 60s, because you would have had cartoons playing up to all these stereotypes, you would have had comic strips playing up to all these movies would have been playing up to all these fucking gimmicks, like, you know, whereas no, not so much. But yeah, he was bullied for that. But I mean, I was bullied as a kid and I didn't go around killing people.
No.
I just retreated into a fantasy world where I became a wrestler and a musician and a podcaster, and I'm happy there, and that's where I'm going to stay.
Good. You're in a good mood.
Didn't work out so well for this guy, though.
No. Berkowitz worked at several jobs, including as a security guard, and was employed by the U.S. Postal Service at the time of his arrest.
What was he fired from the Postal Service for again? Didn't he do something stupid?
Kill people?
No, well, there was that. That didn't help. But, he subsequently had several non-professional jobs. At the time of his arrest was working. He was just a letter sorter when he was arrested. So he was fired for just killing people.
Postal Service for a weird thing. Yeah, no, I know.
So with his attacks, his first attack, Berkowitz claimed that his first attack on a woman occurred in late 1975 when he said he attacked 2 women with a knife on Christmas Eve. One alleged victim was never identified, but Charles Montaldo writes that the other victim, Michelle Foreman, was hospitalized due to her wounds. Berkowitz was never charged with committing either crime. Not long after, Berkowitz moved to a home in Yonkers. I always like the sound of Yonkers.
Yeah.
And it just sounds like a fucking fun place.
Yep.
Yonkers, New York. Mainly because the rest of them sound scary. You know, you don't want to be living in... you've always heard of people being tough if they were from, like, fucking Brooklyn or somewhere like that, you know?
How about Manhattan?
Manhattan seems very girly and shoppy to me.
Okay,
that's all I picture. I say picture Sex in the City when you say Manhattan, and I think it's because of the drink as well and how they glamorize.
Just about to say I picture martinis when I hear Manhattan.
Manhattan is kind of glamorized a little bit. I don't know what it's really like. I've never been to New York.
Neither have I. I think there's more places. I'd like to see New York. I really would, but I think there's more places that I'd like to go.
From watching wrestling, like Taz was Brooklyn, New York, so he was a tough guy. So you instantly assume Brooklyn is a tough place, like, you know.
The Bronx I'm on the fence about purely because of Jennifer Lopez. So she says she's from the Bronx one more time.
Oh, she's Jenny from the block. She's tough as fuck. We saw her before she became famous
on Mad TV.
No, not Mad TV.
Oh, no.
In Living Colour.
In Living Colour.
She was one of the Fly Girls dancing in the background. And then when she came on to it, suddenly the Fly Girls started getting, like, that season got, like, a...
bit of flair.
Not flair, but they did, like, do little solo videos of them doing weird kind of striptease dances. And she had the most of them. She had about 3 or 4 of them. The rest of it, I think 1 or 2 of the other girls got one of them.
I prefer her hair longer.
Yeah, it was very 90s.
Very 90s, haircut. Yeah.
Anyway, in the summer of 1976, a series of shootings began. They would terrify New York and earn even international press coverage. The perpetrator was dubbed the 44 caliber killer after his weapon of choice. On the evening of July 29, 1976, Joey Valenti. Sounds like a coffee. 19 years old, and Donna Laurie, 18, were both shot as they sat inside a car parked on the street outside Lauria's apartment in the Bronx. Lauria was killed, but Valenti survived. Though 2 young women had been the victim of an apparent... the 2 young women had... Though the 2 young women had been the victim of an apparent random shooting, and the shooting earned little attention. Again, I would say the first one wasn't going... And in New York, in America, a once-off shooting isn't going to... Even at a random kind of style isn't going to draw that much attention, you know? Especially in the 70s, because from what I have heard, from what I've learned from movies, New York looks dirty in the 70s and 80s. Especially the 70s, it looks filthy.
From what I've heard, again, I haven't been there, but from what I've heard from other people, that like you have your streets that are nice. They like obviously the ones that are kept nice, and the rest of it is.
My mate lived there for the summer, and he said it is the dirtiest place he's ever been in his life. That it's absolute filth. And I think my sister said the same. It's kind of a case of, like you said, there's some of the big streets that are and the touristy spots that are kept clean, and then the rest is dog shit. And apparently up until recently it was always dog shit. Like, I mean, like they're saying like 70s, 80s, 90s, what we saw in the movies, that's what New York was. It was crime ridden, it was dirty, it was grimy, it wasn't a safe place to be like. And
but then again, having said that, on trips around our own country, like there were streets that are like, but like it was just like
cities just like, have that, like, but I mean in particular,
New York is known for
that thing you see in the movies with the smoke coming up and the thugs walking around and all that stuff. That was fairly fucking accurate. That smoke? Comes from the sewer. I'm not 100% sure. Smoke. I don't know. I have never smelled that. I'll ask someone who's been there. Ask my sister. She'll know. One of the guys I worked for, they lived in New York for a couple of years. They told me what it was, because I did ask them, but it was years and years ago, and I can't fucking remember now. And they had an explanation. I presume it's like in
the bone collector when your one gets steamed to death, like, because there's a lot of steam coming out from under those pipes when they go down into the sewers.
Don't know.
I don't know where it comes from.
Anyway, so that got a little attention, but on October 23rd, 1976, there was another shooting, this time in Queens. Again, the victims were in a parked car. Carl DeNaro, 19, was shot in the head and survived, but his companion Rosemary Keenan died from her injuries. Now, I am led to believe that a lot of these, there's a lot of cases in these shootings where there's people who survive. Mm-hmm. The reason for it is, from what I've heard, that 44 caliber guns aren't exactly that fucking big. Aren't that strong. The bullets are fairly tiny and they don't do a whole lot of damage. So it's seen as the weaker of the guns.
It would be, yeah. But then it kind of cancels out what he was saying. I know we'll get into it later, but when he said that there was somebody else involved, and then he said that the first shootings didn't go according to plan because the woman wasn't the recoil. Gun. Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe see if it's an old gun.
Small enough.
If it's an old gun, maybe the recoil doesn't make, it's just there because it's a shit gun, right?
Yeah.
You would have to assume the good guns don't kick back that much so that you have a better chance at using them, but properly.
I would assume back in the day, a lot of people would have survived duels for that reason. Shit guns.
To kick back, people not expecting it and just getting a gun into the head instead of a bullet. Oh, fuck. Anyway, the new year brought more shootings. On January 30th, 1977, an engaged couple, Christine Freund, 26, and John Deal, were shot where they sat together in a parked car. Deal survived, but Freund died of her injuries. Police determined the shooter had used an uncommon 44 caliber Charter Arms Bulldog revolver in the shooting. The earlier victims too had been struck with large caliber shells. Well, maybe I'm wrong, but this is what I heard. I think when I was listening to the last podcast, they were talking about it. And specifically that it was a weak gun that he shot, and that's why so many people survived. I don't know that much about guns.
Let me have a look about the caliber.
Authorities also noted that the shootings targeted women with long dark hair and or young couples parked in cars. See, I know a lot of people changed their hair. A lot of women changed their hairstyles at this point, and went blonde and cut it short and all this kind of shit, or just hid it in a hat and stuff like that, or wore wigs. Why were they just not sitting around in cars? If the guy is targeting young couples and young women in cars, stop sitting around in the car outside your fucking house. Go into your fucking house, you idiot.
Oh, well, yeah.
Or just sit in the steps outside your house or something. You don't need to sit in the car if he's targeting people in the car. It's like COVID. We knew it wasn't going to be forever. It's the same thing. You know he's eventually going to get caught and you can go back to sitting in your fucking car. But for a while, until we've caught this idiot, stop sitting in your fucking cars talking.
Absolutely.
Problem solved.
A 44 caliber bullet is actually a wide bore caliber, so that means that in comparison to the way when you see a bullet with a narrow tip, 44 caliber is actually like dome tip, so it's quite substantial. It's one of the bigger calibers.
But because it doesn't have that tip, it doesn't go as deep. I think it's the power is what I mean. Obviously, when it impacts you, it's gonna thing, but I don't think
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know how that works. I'm not
a lot of people survive, so I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Anyway, where am I? On March 8, 1977, college student Virginia, I'm not even going to try it, 21, was shot by a passerby as she walked in Queens. She died instantly. The 44 caliber shell from this shooting matched the one from the July 29th shooting. At a press conference on March 10, 1977, police announced that the same 44 caliber pistol had been used in several of the shootings. The Operation Omega Task Force eventually conspiring some 300, I was about to say 3,000. 300 police officers were charged with investigating the crimes. Under the direction of Deputy Inspector Timothy J. Dowd, police speculated that the killer had a vendetta against women, perhaps due to chronic rejection. So is this like how incels dealt with shit before they had the internet?
Maybe. Creepy. Well, like, is it? Yeah.
Mass media had a field day with the shooting, publishing every detail and speculation of the case. Australian publisher Rupert Murdoch. Is he Australian? Really? I suppose Murdoch seems like Rupert Murdoch sounds like an Australian.
Murdoch always sounded like a spy name. Like he'd be wearing like English, a long black jacket, like trench coat.
Had recently purchased the flagging New York Post. The paper offered perhaps the most sensational coverage of the crimes. But he's known for that anyway, isn't he?
Sensationalism, yeah.
So, do you want to get into when he finally started to make contact?
Okay. So, police made extensive efforts, including tracking down many yellow Volkswagen cars. Eyewitnesses had reported such a car at one of the shootings and trying to locate the owners of many thousands of 44 Bulldog revolvers.
Serial killers give Volkswagens an awful name.
Especially yellow ones.
Bundy fucking in a VW Bug? Yeah, wasn't his thing yellow as well?
Yeah.
Fucking, and fucking, were we not just talking, I know it wasn't a Volkswagen, but Rifkin was in a yellow fucking van, or a yellow truck.
He was.
So just stay away from yellow fucking cars. My friend's dad had a yellow car when we were kids, and I always thought it was strange.
Del Boy had a yellow van car.
Yeah, I don't think he's competent enough to fucking kill people. Or to get rid of the bodies and not get caught.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on.
The killer struck again on April 16th, 1977. Alexander Iso and Valentina Suriani both were killed in the Bronx, only a few blocks from the scene of the Damasio Lamino shooting. In the street near the victims, a handwritten letter was found by a police officer. It was addressed to Captain Joe Borelli of Operation Omega. Riddled with spelling errors, the letter gave the shooter a new name, the Son of Sam.
You turned around to me after reading this because you recorded the Mini Monster for it.
I did.
And it took you ages. Not that your fault. But you literally read this section and you were like fucking struggling. Not struggling, but you could hear that you were there was a possibility you could mess up at any stage. Because when you're doing this together and you're recording, especially the stuff that are like Mini Monsters where it's just reading a bio. Yeah. You could get in a flow and suddenly it's like someone throws a brick wall right in front of you, and no matter how hard or how much you know the word, it could be the simplest word and you know this word, but
infamous,
your mouth will not let you say it. And then you were trying to read this last night full of its spelling errors and to say it correctly into the microphone, and you looked at me afterwards like, that fuck couldn't write.
I had to take a full-on break afterwards because there was parts you had to say with the spelling errors, and the rest of it, like, if I'd said it with spelling errors, nobody would have understood it. So this is...
I'm looking at here. We have a woman. Wee man.
Wee man hater.
Wee man haters. I am not a fan of Jackass and their wee man.
It read in full. Do you want to hear it?
Go for it. It's so ridiculous, though. It's longer than I was expecting. You started reading it yesterday when we were recording it, and I was expecting it to stop about maybe a quarter of the way through when it did stop. I mean, it was like 4 times
natural
more than
breaks.
I expected. It was like, fuck. And I would thought you were finished and you kick off again. I'd be like, oh, Jesus Christ, this guy's never going to stop. And he is throwing everything at the wall on this side. This sounds,
everything.
This sounds like someone took a load of fucking serial killers, different letters to police, stuck it into AI to see what it would come out with, and this is what it came out with. So go for it.
Okay. I am deeply hurt by your calling me a woman hater.
I am deeply hurt by you calling me a wee man hater.
I am not. I am saying this properly. Oh my God, that's so weird. I am not is actually the next sentence. Anyway, but I am a monster. I am the son of Sam. I am a little brat. When Father Sam gets drunk, he gets mean. He beats our family. Sometimes he ties me up to the back of the house. Other times he locks me in the garage. Sam loves to drink blood. Go out and kill, commands Father Sam. Behind our house some rest. Mostly young, raped and slaughtered, their blood drained, just bones now. Pop Sam keeps me locked in the attic too. I can't get out, but I look out the attic window and watch the world go by. I feel like an outsider. I am on a different wavelength than everyone else, programmed to kill. However, to stop me, you must kill me. Attention all police, shoot me first. Shoot to kill or else keep out of my way or you will die. Papa Sam is old now. He needs some blood to preserve his youth. He has too many heart attacks. Oh, me hoot, it hurts, sonny boy. I miss my pretty princess most of all. She's resting in Our Lady's house, but I'll see her soon. I am the monster, Beelzebub, the chubby behemoth. I love to hunt.
Do you think they instantly were like, okay, put out an APP for anyone slightly overweight? Anyone that looks chubby, pull them over, search them.
True.
We are looking for anyone over 16 stone, right? 16 stone above, search the bastard. Not fat, just a little chubby.
Just a little chubby. Prowling the streets looking for fair game, tasty meat. The women of Queens are prettiest of all. I must be the water they drink. I live for the hunt, my life. Blood for Papa. Mr. Borelli, sir, I don't want to kill anymore. No, sir, no more, but I must. Honour thy father. I want to make love to the world. I love people. I don't belong on earth. Return me to Yahoos. To the people of Queens, I love you, and I want to wish all of you a happy Easter. May God bless you in this life and the next. And for now, I say goodbye and good night. Please, let me haunt you with these words. I'll be back. I'll be back. To be interpreted as bang, bang, bang. Ugh. Yours in murder, Mr. Monster.
Stuck the in there.
It does. It sounds like someone took a snippet from everything they could think of was a serial killer letter and throw it in there. I wonder when he says return me to Yahoo's, is it a spelling error?
Of Yahweh, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
That's the Jewish name for God. I never knew God had a name. I only found this out recently.
Yahweh.
Yeah, I found it out I read this comic book. It was called American Jesus. And it's about, obviously, Christ and the Antichrist coming back in the modern day and the build up to it. And he referred to it as Yahweh. And I looked it up and to see what that was. Yeah. And then Bo Dallas keeps saying it on his promos. He said it once or twice coming up for his new White 6 stuff. So yeah, I know what that is now.
That's
but
the
that's
only
what I'm guessing
thing.
He was Jewish.
But it's so madly misspelled as well.
Yeah, but
It's the only thing that
so
makes
is
sense.
Wee Man and Woo. What was the other?
But at
Wee
least,
Man. I love Wee Man. He sounds fucking Jamaican.
At least when I see Wee Man and the other ones, I know what I have to say. But Yahoos, I have to say Yahoos because it's so badly misspelled. It might be Yahweh.
And where the fuck did he get Ugga Me Hooth? It hurts, sonny boy.
Well, the cops reckoned when they saw the letter that they
That he was Scottish.
Yeah, that he was either Scottish or that he was familiar with somebody of Scottish dialect, and that it was actually my heart it hurts, sonny boy, was what they translated it as. So they thought that it was his father having heart attacks and that he was blaming the nurse.
Was his father Scottish?
His father was Jewish.
Right.
It doesn't mean
No. I mean, there's a lot of
people.
the more strict
Yeah.
Jewish people in fucking thing, the ones with the curls on the side of their head and all the black.
But just with their
And the big
name,
beards.
I'm kind
Again,
of guessing
not
they're
fucking
probably
anti-Semitic.
Polish.
We just don't have Jews in Ireland.
We do.
We don't. I've never met one.
I've met a Jewish.
You've met one. I've never met
No,
any.
I've
That
met a
means
few
there's not that
Jewish
many in this
people.
country. Huh?
I've met a Jewish person from home as well.
Okay, if you're looking for the Jewish people in Ireland, they're all in Tipperary.
No, one I actually met in Kerry.
There was one in Kerry, the rest of them were in Tipperary.
Oh, holy fuck!
Anyway.
So, what were they saying? Based on the analysis letter, psychiatrists thought the shooter might be a paranoid schizophrenic. Was he? I can't remember the day diagnosed him with anything in the end. We'll see when we get there. But, so on April 16, 1977, there was another shooting. Sal Lupo and Judy Placido, 17, had left the... Sorry, my mouse in the way. Halifax discotheque in Queens. I love that when people call it a discotheque. According to Chris Summers of the BBC, the young couple were sitting in their car when Placido said, "This Son of Sam is really scary. The way the guy comes out of nowhere and you never know where it'll hit next. He'll hit next."
Imagine that, talking about it next year. And
I would never talk about a serial killer ever again for the rest of my life. Or, we'll see.
I don't think I would tempt fate in that situation. If I knew there was one active, I wouldn't bring it up, especially sitting in a fucking car.
At 3 a.m. and it doesn't say it here, but in I don't think it said it here, but on Wikipedia it said that they were like literally sitting in the car at 3 a.m. Like, you know,
I would feel like serial killer stuff feels like movie stuff. And I would feel like by uttering that line that I had put myself in the movie in the place of the next victim. I would feel like I just set the next movie scene up perfectly, so it's definitely.
You literally said, "I'll be right back."
Oh yeah, essentially, yeah.
Yeah. But even the way they describe his arrest, it seems so fucking movie, as in like going
I
to the
always
temple
thought
and
that
gun
was
from the passenger.
BTK's fucking arrest.
No, it's not a sad.
We'll get to it, but I
class,
always
the way
had
they
in my head
describe
that it was BTK's arrest, and I was fucking wrong. I mean, it was. He did say something weird when he was arrested too, but it wasn't what I thought. Anyway, police offered composite sketches of suspects in the shooting based in part on the testimony of people who had witnessed or even survived the shootings. In some regards, however, the composites were quite different, though police publicly insisted that only a single suspect was being sought. One sketch and description roughly matched Berkowitz, medium height, slightly pudgy, with hair that was short, dark and curly. Catch them by the dark and curlies. Short, dark and curlies, isn't that what they say? But another suspect was reported to be quite different. A taller and slimmer man, a hippie sort, with jaw-length hair that was either light brown or dark blonde. Police speculated that they might be seeking one killer who was using a wig.
So he was like, I'm going to get them at their own game. They're wearing wigs. I'm wearing a wig.
I'm going to be a blonde too. Next there was the Breslin letter. So do you want to get into that?
Yeah. On May 30th, 1977, columnist Jimmy Breslin of the New York Daily News received a handwritten letter from the shooter. A week later, after consulting with police and agreeing to withhold portions of the letter, the Daily News published the letter. Reportedly, over 1.1 million copies of that day's paper would be sold, which is apparently, it doesn't say it here, but in other sources, this still holds the record for being the most sold issue.
If I found out, though, no, obviously it doesn't happen today, because if a serial killer does put out a letter, it's probably going to be on Instagram or Facebook or whatever in minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw there Joe Biden fucking stepping down as president.
Oh,
that back in the day would have been the news at whatever time, lunchtime news or 6 o'clock news, or would have been in the newspaper the next day that you read that letter.
That's it, the next morning. Like,
but no, so that's because I would have said, like, if a serial killer was active, I'd rush out to get the newspaper too. Do you know?
I tried to get every bit of media I could.
Oh yeah, I think even now with this thing, I'd still go out and get the newspaper and have the physical fucking evidence. But even just because of the thing of what it could become later, like to have these little snippets of information, I'd find it interesting. So I would have been one of those 1.1 million to go out and buy the paper 100%. Back then. And like you said, especially back then when you don't have the internet, you want to be up to date to know
I want to see those composite
fuck.
sketches.
Yeah, well, what am I looking out for?
Like,
what are the warning signs here? Do you know, what's this crazy saying? Is there anything in these letters that I might even recognise, that I might be able to put them on the right path? Like, do you know?
Well, this is what that letter said. Hello from the gutters of NYC, which are filled with dog manure, vomit, stale wine, urine and blood. He is very polite when he says urine and not piss. Because that's what I was expecting from him. Hello from the sewers of NYC, which swallow up these delicacies when they are washed away by the sweeper trucks. Hello from the cracks in the sidewalks of NYC, and from the ants that dwell in these cracks and feed in the dried blood of the dead that has settled into the cracks. The writer said he was a fan of Breslin, noting, JB, I also want to tell you that I read your column daily and find it quite informative. Ominously, the writer added, what will you have for July 29th, which was the anniversary of the first 44 caliber shooting? Breslin urged the killer to turn himself into police. In 2004, Hockenberry quoted Breslin when he said that he had some admiration for the writer's prose. He said that he had a cadence. I remember when I read it, I said, this guy could take my place with a column. He had that big city beat to his writing. It was sensational.
Which is fucking mental, because his last letter was terrible, which does kind of lead a bit of credence to maybe there was more than one of them.
Possibly.
But if there was more than one of them, would he not? Does he still claim there's more than one of them? I don't know. We'll have to, maybe it'll say here at the end. I'll look into it if it doesn't, because I'm kind of curious to see what his stance is. Because I always just kind of think that once this shit is over, people kind of admit to it and get on with things. But then when we were watching the thing about Waco, and I realised there was still people out there that followed the Branch Davidians and believed in fucking what's his fucking face, Koresh. And then I watched the thing about Lord Real and realised there was still Realians out there. Even after everything, he's kind of downfall. It was just like, I forget that these people might still be holding on to this shit in the background.
Yeah.
So I will. It'll be interesting when we get to it. But yeah, so you were saying...
The writer ignored Breslin's suggestion and killed again on July 30th, 1977. It was near the 1 year anniversary of the first 44 caliber shootings, and the police set up a sizable dragnet focusing on the shooters' hunting grounds of Queens and the Bronx. However, the shooter struck in Brooklyn. Stacey Moskowitz, age 20, and Robert Violante, 20, were both shot in the head as they sat in a parked car. Moskowitz died, and although Violante survived, he was blinded.
Why were you sitting in the car? I just don't understand this. This has to be common sense. If this was the one place he was striking, it's always when they're in the car. Why in fuck's name would any of you be sitting in your fucking car having a chat?
Absolutely. Thankfully, though, they be his last victims.
Fucking hell. On the evening of the Moskowitz and Violante shooting, Cecilia Davis, who lived near the crime scene, saw a man remove a parking ticket from his yellow Ford Galaxy, which had been parked too near to a fire hydrant. Davis saw this man only a few minutes before the shooting, and she contacted police about him. Authorities determined that Berkowitz had been issued the parking ticket. So a parking ticket, Colin. Who are we talking about? And remember, someone was brought in and investigated because they had a few parking tickets near the area.
Was that the Atlanta child murder? The Atlanta child murder?
No, we haven't covered that.
Oh, no, we haven't.
I can't remember, but I remember this coming up before.
Is there a fucking deeper conspiracy with these yellow cars? Because not only has he had a yellow Volkswagen, it's a yellow Ford Galaxy now that he's after being ticketed for. Is there a thing?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, there's too many yellow vehicles popping up in all these series.
So this is the warning sign. If somebody buys it, I gotta message my old friend from primary school.
But do you know the way they say that there could be like these networks?
Oh yeah.
Is this a thing? Yellow cars.
Do not get into yellow cars. Anyway, where are we? Fucking Davis saw this man only a few times. Yeah. So as Hockenberry writes, thinking Berkowitz was now an important witness, the NYPD detectives called Yonkers, a city 12 miles north of Manhattan, and asked the police for some help tracking him down. Nick Novoitin was a sergeant at the Yonkers Police Department. According to Mick, the Yonkers police had their own suspicions about Berkowitz in connection to other strange crimes in Yonkers, crimes they saw referenced in one of the Son of Sam letters. To the shock of the NYPD, they told the New York City detective that Berkowitz might just be the Son of Sam. So these assholes knew and were keeping it to them fucking self. That's so fucked up when you think about it. But like, I if you listen to the main show this week, I kind of point out why it is. And it's so fucking stupid the way they do it. Same with their schools. The better numbers you do, the more funding you seem to unlock for your kid.
That is ridiculous.
But
yeah.
That is like investing in something that's already fucking working when you have something that's broken over here and needs fixing. So you invest in the broke thing to fix it, not the fucking other way around. You don't let the broke thing get more broken and keep fucking sticking extras onto something that doesn't fucking need it. Like, if they're working perfectly fine the way they are, then they're working perfectly fine the way they are. Go focus on the one with the bad numbers.
But that's it. I mean, like, if you think of schools, I know, like, for my own hometown, like, the school that would have been kind of seen as, like, not great, like, you know, that kind of way. Once that got a bit of stimulus in funding, I mean, like, the computer labs that were opened, like, is winning awards left, right and centre, and the students needed resources.
So fucking crazy. So that's why, like, precincts would hold out on each other so that they could get the fucking collar and they could get the conviction and they could get the win and they get the number, which gets them more fucking funding, do you know?
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, and the other thing about it, like, some of these other crimes that he might have committed were fires, as far as I know.
Over 2,000.
They suspected him of fucking being an arsonist.
Yeah. The Phantom of the arsonist had a name as well. The Phantom of New York, I think it might have been, or the Phantom of one of the boroughs.
We'll probably see it here soon. It'll probably come up here again.
Sorry.
Oh, no, sorry. I don't know if it will or not, but yeah, he did have some strange kind of name. When they investigated his car parked on the street outside his apartment, police found a rifle in the back seat. They searched the vehicle and found a .44 caliber bulldog pistol along with maps of the crime scenes and a letter to Sergeant Dowd of the Omega Task Force. When he emerged from the building hours later, Berkowitz was arrested outside his apartment in Yonkers, New York on August 10, 1977. His first words upon arrest were reported to be, "What took you so long?"
Can we... That's weird. I think I actually have different here.
What?
2 seconds. I think it was "You Got Me."
Oh yeah, I think it's "You Got Me, what took you so long" or something like along those lines. That definitely was in there.
So this is just, it's just tiny snippets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Police searched his apartment and found it in disarray with occult graffiti on the walls. They also found a diary wherein Berkowitz took credit for dozens of arsons throughout the New York area. Now, if they found a diary, was he writing that he was doing? Wouldn't he be writing about the fucking crazy cult shit that's coming up here soon? Because I know there's occult stuff on the walls also kind of lays the ground on the whole. He was a part of a group.
Or are you that indoctrinated like Fight Club? You don't talk about Fight Club. Oh, that's it. It was just like a satanic club, Fight Club, and he used to go down into it, and it was just literally just him. Yeah. No, that's not what I'm saying. I was in like his actual cult, as in like he went to the cult meetings, but it was just him.
Oh, you mean like the twist at the end of the cult was always in his head.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. And that's why he's throwing on wigs and going and disguises and going shooting people pretending to be someone else. I'm a hippie today. Police were worried that if challenged in court, their initial search of Berkowitz's vehicle might be ruled unconstitutional. Police had no search warrant and their justification for the search might seem flimsy. They'd searched initially based on the hunting rifle visible in the back seat, though possession of such a rifle was legal in New York City and required no special permits. You didn't need a license to have this gun, no? Or did you need a license to have a gun over there? I don't think you do you? You just have to pass the fucking a background check.
So is there any type of gun that you need a license for? Are you allowed to own a semi-automatic?
I have heard him saying it's a gun without a permit, isn't it? So maybe you do have to have some sort of permit for it. I'm not 100% sure. Again, it's a state-by-state thing, so it's really fucking hard. I would get arrested so fast over there because I'd walk over fucking county lines and not know what's going on. To the relief of police, however, Berkowitz quickly confessed to the shootings and expressed an interest in pleading guilty in exchange for receiving life imprisonment rather than facing the death penalty. Berkowitz was questioned for about 30 minutes and confessed to the Son of Sam's killings. During questioning, Berkowitz told a bizarre tale that seemed to demand an insanity defense. The Sam mentioned in the first letter was one Sam Carr, a former neighbor of Berkowitz. Berkowitz claimed the Carr's dog, Harvey, was possessed by an ancient demon and that it issued commands to Berkowitz to kill. Berkowitz said he once tried to kill the dog only to see his aim spoiled due to supernatural interference. Now again, this is where I suppose what kind of takes away as well from anyone looking in the idea there being accomplices is when a guy's going to keep changing his story on you and coming out with wild shit, then you're not going to believe him when he comes out with more wild shit later. No. So when you're starting out and the guy's like, yep, I killed them all, but the dog told me to do it. He's the Son of Sam. He's a demon. And when I tried to shoot him, I couldn't because the ghost stopped me. You know, he's like, when he comes back later and he's like, actually I'm a part of a satanic cult group, you're like,
And then he follows that up with, oh no, it was this song that inspired me.
Oh, what song?
Hall & Oates, Rich Girl.
I don't know that song, but I will have a listen in a minute and see if Actually, don't put it on. It might make me kill somebody if it's that bad.
Karaoke version.
How bad is Hall & Oates' song, Rich Girl? Do you have it there?
I have it here. I was going to put on Gwen Stefani instead, but...
Go on, give it a play. I think we can get away with like 5 or 6 seconds before we get in trouble. Oh, that's an ad. We can't have that in this, Amy. Fucking hell. It's not our ad.
Where is it coming from?
Skip ad.
I did skip the ad. Oh, I know where it's coming from.
What?
That.
I don't know. It's a good song. I like this song. Seems like a song that might be in
it's the lyrics.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
being a rich girl won't get you too far, relying on daddy's money. It's a bit.
Oh, so they're thinking that yeah.
I wonder, is it a bit like, is it Pulp, Common People, kind of the same kind of sentiments behind it?
The rich girls, I'm going to shoot you down because you think you get away with everything kind of shit.
Yeah,
and it kind of like, again, I believe that more than anything. I think it was a kind of case of him maybe being rejected by the kind of girls. Again, I think it's an incel situation. I think this is somebody with insanely high standards who, I don't mean it in a bad way, but I mean, like, there's a lot of people out there, like a lot of men out there, that'll go around crying about how no woman likes them and how all women want bad guys or this kind of shit and that kind of shit. The reality of it is, some guys kind of fucking only expect themselves to be getting fucking. They expect Kim Kardashian to go out with them, or fucking or Jennifer Aniston to run off with them or something like that. And it's like, buddy, it's not going to fucking happen. Do you know? You might have to just kind of. You might want to start looking at personality. And I don't mean that in a fucking you should judge people by their looks. Or that someone who's deemed traditionally bad looking won't get a good looking person, or somebody traditionally good looking won't go out with a bad looking person.
But it's not but it could be something about your physical hygiene. Something like that. Like, something that you could change.
100%. But what I'm saying is there's some people out there, some men out there with ridiculous standards for what they expect from a woman. And it's this kind of person. And then they start turning around afterwards and going, why do none of the women like me? Or why do they keep rejecting me? It's because your standards are ridiculously high. Yeah. And even if you got that really fucking gorgeous superstar girl you think you fucking want, the standards you would put on that woman would make her leave you.
Yeah.
Do you know? So it would never last long. Mm-hmm. You'd never get that far because you would constantly expect more and more from this person because you think you're fucking owed this by him. And that's what these incels are like, you know? And I think this is just an incel before the internet.
Yeah.
I think he was just not. And when you hear it here, like if Rich Girl was one of the he claims was one of the motivating things to kill. He denied for so much that it wasn't women, but was shooting women down. And on top of that, you had the thing of when he was in fucking court where he started chanting. What was it? He was like, was he climbing out a window or something? Tried to jump out a window.
Roared that he would do it again. That Stacey was a whore.
Stacey was a whore, and all this kind of stuff. Chanting it like repeatedly. Stacey was a whore. Stacey's a whore, and then I'd kill her again. Yeah. So I mean,
imagine her mother forgave him even after that.
Oh, she's the dying woman that forgave him that lost everybody because of him.
Yeah, imagine that.
Jesus Christ. So yeah, he was sentenced to 365 years behind bars after that one. Basically, once you say Stacey is a whore and I'd do it again.
It's not looking good.
You're going to jail.
No. His lawyer's like, well, that's it. Job done.
Anyone want to cut a deal? Anyway, Berkowitz, after the arrest, so he survived at least one attempt on his life by a fellow inmate. Look, we're not going to get too far into this because it's just your fucking standard stuff. He went to jail. He became a fucking born-again Christian. And that's about, he kind of, to this day... Hang on, before we get into that, right? There's nothing here about the fucking
right.
No, not about the cult thing. So there's nothing here written about it, but the general gist of it is because there was so many different descriptions and so many witnesses giving different descriptions, that it was believed that Berkowitz might be a part of some sort of satanic cult and that they were doing these shootings as a ritual kind of thing. And I think when he heard about it, he laid into it a little bit as well. Now, I'm not 100% sure if he still lays into it or still claims it. But, I mean, that was one of his excuses as well. That he was a member of a cult. That he committed 2 of the murders, I think. And that the rest were committed by other people. Again, I don't know what his stance on that is. No.
In 1979, he mailed a book about witchcraft to North Dakota police about another murder, but he had shit underlined in it. But that was in 1979 after it already being caught.
No, again, it's very hard to tell with these kind of people, but you made the point to me because I did say that really the only person... We were discussing like people being paroled after these kind of killings and stuff like that. And I said to you, really the only type of person who is genuinely sorry for what they did is the person who said, I'm sorry for what I've done. Please do not release me. I do not deserve to be out after what I've done. Yeah. I deserve to fucking serve this punishment for my crime. And then you turn around and said that's exactly what Berkowitz said when he became a born-again Christian.
He went so far as to even skip parole hearings. Like.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be released. He doesn't think it's right. Not because he thinks he'll do it again, but because he thinks he should be punished for his crimes. And that's basically he now fucking does a lot of work for gun control and against gun violence from prison. He helps other inmates who are having problems. I don't know enough about the man to say whether he's reformed and he is a good person now in prison, but they say like he's a model prisoner. They're like, no one has an issue with him in jail. So I don't know. And I would say that the ultimate form of remorse, the true person who is seriously remorseful for a crime would stay in prison and see out their sentence. All 300 and whatever days
300
years
yeah.
of it.
68?
It was right here. 365, very close to him. Good job. And that is...
He's up for parole again in 2026.
He has started going to them again, hasn't he? Because he didn't want to
come across as in like being basically a fuck you to authority, as in I'm not going to go, as in he said that he respects the...
Because they asked him to stop doing them, but they said no. No, we're going to keep doing them. You have to do this. This is a part of the process.
And it's obviously like a checkup. Like, do you like the way at work you'd have like your yearly 1-to-1
well,
or whatever? Like,
see,
it's like still
there's
like
also the side of it of whereas he mightn't get granted parole, he might be deemed fit enough to go into a minimum security prison, which would free up space for them in the maximum and funds in the maximum security, you know?
That's true.
So that's kind of maybe where they're leading with it, you know, that maybe he'll be moved from a prison. Because, I mean, you have to think at this point, what age is the man? He's
probably institutionalized as fuck.
That's what I'm saying. He is 71. This fella would not... When he was last out, the internet was completely unknown. Like, it didn't exist. It was the 60s, 70s, like, you know?
Yeah.
He would come out to this world now and not know what the fuck to do with himself.
He would have his own website, though. There is a website. It's maintained by
the Christians that he works with.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that would be his only saving grace if he did get released. He would have Christians there.
He'd have somewhere to go to. I don't think he'd be homeless. He wouldn't be without
No. They'd take him in straight away, especially since he has had a lot of years of, you know, we're looking at his stuff here. You know yourself from looking at these guys' bios. A lot of the time there'll be a section of after they're put into prison and their prison life, and there'll be a lot of fucking violence going on there, or they've been attacked, or they attacked somebody else, or they're housed in this area for safety reasons and all this kind of shit. Yeah. We even said it about what's his face, Rifkin, earlier on, that he was housed in a separate fucking he was in fucking solitary because he was a disruption to the fucking prison system. So, I mean, you're looking through his stuff here, and it seems like after he was caught, he never hurt another soul.
Oh, no, I mean, like, didn't he graduate? He did a few, he just studied and all, like, in jail.
He even, in 2002, when the DC snipers were attacking, he wrote them a letter to try and ask them to stop. Now, I don't know where the fuck he was sending it to, because those guys were living in a fucking car, yeah? I mean, so I don't know where.
Dumbledore style.
First thing they should have said, when a letter came back saying no, everyone should have been like, hey, Berkowitz, where the fuck did you send that letter? And he's the reason. There's a satanic cult here, but look, we've went into that already. It's basically what I said. But he is the reason as well now that that the fucking criminals cannot profit from their... I always thought that was Gacy.
Oh, Son of Sam Law.
I thought it was Gacy that did that because he was making money off of his paintings. And that got nixed. So I don't know what year did the law come into action.
But are the paintings of victims? Are the paintings of...
No, sometimes a lot of them were Pogo the Clown, him as the clown and stuff like that.
So they couldn't...
Could be anything.
Yeah.
Right, but because he was... I don't know. They definitely stopped him from... Yeah, but I think the thing was he had his notoriety. His name... The paintings were only worth something because he was the killer Gacy. So by putting his name, John Wayne Gacy, in the end of it was enough to be...
I get you now.
He wouldn't be... John Wayne Gacy's paintings would not be popular if he wasn't a fucking serial killer. So he is technically earning money off the fact that... Now, I could be way off with this, but that would be my mentality of it. That's how... And if I was making the rules, that's how it would be in my eyes as well. It'd be like, fuck this guy. You're only fucking... John Wayne Gacy, the name, is only popular because you killed fucking 30-odd fucking boys. That is going to count for every penny you fucking make. Every penny you make because your name is John Wayne Gacy, and just because your name is John Wayne Gacy, fuck you, that counts as profiting off your crime.
Yeah.
Do you know, that would be my mentality. I don't know if that's how it works. Maybe it was changed at that time because he was profiting off, because I always thought it was him that was part of the reason behind it. I can't see anything about.
Well, if they
Berkowitz
fall under murderabilia, then the Son of Sam laws are currently targeting murderabilia.
Okay, yeah. No, I think they can still hand that stuff out and you can still get murderabilia. I mean, you can look it up and find that stuff
you can,
online,
but the proceeds will probably go to the family or the victim state fund.
Yeah. But a lot of the time there won't be, they'd probably give away that shit. So if you're selling it yourself afterwards, he's not making any money out of it. It's your own resale.
If I did it, the proceeds of that went to family. So am I sure?
No, that went to Goldberg. Yeah, well, it went to him. Yeah. He sued him for it. Because, but in that case, OJ already owed the Goldbergs that money. They already beat him in the civil suit, so he owed him a couple of million quid.
Okay.
So when that book went on sale, since he hadn't paid up, they gave him that, but they gave him the rights to that book so that they could profit off the book, which they did by releasing, instead of if I did it, I did it, and selling it. And again, I've read it; it's a weird one. Do you know what? It's a short, easy read. I would love to do a fucking episode of a podcast. And just, or even maybe a new fucking podcast where I just read a chapter a day for a fucking, maybe a couple of months and post it on Patreon and we can discuss it afterwards or discuss it. A book club kind of fucking thing.
Okay.
The Murder Book Club. And we find easy to read books like that. But OJ's one, it's interesting to see how his mind was working on the whole thing. And the process. I think it's definitely something I'm going to look into. It might be an interesting one, to be honest. I'll have to look at the book again and figure it out. That's it. I think we got it. That's Son of Sam, Joel Rifkin, Ronnie DeFeo, and the Amityville bullshit. That's it till next week. I enjoyed that. That was fun. I think we've been kind of avoiding repeating ourselves from many monsters, but I think that was a good way of doing it this week. Is that instead of us just fucking randomly talking about bits and pieces that you have to try, the listener has to try and stitch it together where we're talking about what. At least by looking at these little snippets of their bio and talking about them again before we get into what we're talking about, it's a little more cohesive for people listening.
Exactly.
But I enjoyed that. And Son of Sam always interests me, and I think I'm definitely going to watch that Spike Lee movie. Before we go, does he have any other movies? There is The Summer of Sam. Obviously, he was in Mindhunter. Fucking great actor for that again. Not really. Yeah. Fuck, we got to get a good Son of Sam movie. Good Berkowitz movie going. Until next week, that's it. Goodbye.
See you later.